Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the Line 90.7 FM. The Joker movie has come out. It is the highly anticipated origin story of the Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Todd Phillips, who directed the Hangover trilogy, and now he's directing the Joker origin story, so it's quite a departure from his previous works. We've all seen it. What did we all think? Just first quick hot take of the movie. What did you guys think?
Well, for the Joker, I think it was a look into mental illness and a very interesting and dark humor filled story.
What did you think, Phil?
I thought it was really good. I had to watch it twice. Like normally when I see movies like this that are kind of thinker movies and they're kind of anticipated or controversial, I like to watch them twice. Once to see like if the movie itself like pulls me in, and then the second time I'll look at like specifics, like specific scenes or like, certain details that I maybe missed or whatever. But I liked it. I definitely liked it.
So how did the first viewing compare to the second viewing?
I don't think it pulled me in all that much. Like the viewability, you could definitely tell it was good in the sense like it was aiming to have its cringe moments because of what the movie's about. There's definitely a whole lot of cringe in it, but it was very like strategically done. It was good. It was good.
Mm-hmm. What did T think?
Oh, I absolutely loved it, honestly. Even though it was a bit risky to make like the Joker, right? Yeah, even though it was a bit risky to make an origin movie, I think they nailed it.
Yeah, I actually saw it with T, and I think on the first impression, the first thing I got out of it real quickly was that it was really dark. Like, that was the first thing I noticed, was just how dark this movie was. And I'm not saying dark as in like literal darkness. I mean the themes it talks about, the character that you're watching is all very dark, and there's not a lot of violent moments in this movie, but when it is violent, it's very dark violence. And when, I can say the reaction to that's also very dark, because we're doing non-spoilers for now. We will get into spoilers, but I'm just trying to say this as vaguely as possible. But I think right when it ended, I did not know if I liked this movie at all. I really didn't. I thought it was well acted. I thought cinematography was good. I thought the music was okay. I thought it was a little repetitive. I thought, every technical aspect was great. I thought the story was a bit predictable because I could kind of see where everything was going. I knew the certain people that would die, I guessed, and it kind of followed what I thought it would follow. And I think the reason I was hesitant on liking it at first was because it's almost like you see it and you're like, I don't need to see that again. That was, a creepy, dark, screwed up, person I just followed. So I really want to see them again. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought of how it's reflective of today's society, that's when I started to say, I do like this movie. I'll give it a second viewing, but after that, I don't know if I'm going to want to watch it again. Because I put in my note, I wrote a bunch of notes after this, but to me, the one thing that's really good about this movie that I do think everybody should see is because it's a mirror of today's society. It's a reflection of the clown world we live in, the world where everything up is down, down is up, where mass shootings are, the mass shooters have become celebrities. Their faces are all over newspapers. They're not, it's not guns that are to blame for these things. It's not, a lot of things that people are quick to point to. It's society that's to blame for. It's how they're treated. It's how they're bullied. It's how they're, treated by people around them. It's how they're giving sort of a celebrity status for doing terrible things. that's what I think this movie is trying to do, is encapsulate our current time period. As much as like Saturday Night Fever encapsulated 1977, this encapsulates 2019 in a perfect little nutshell. And what did you think, Alex? Because I know when you came out, you said it was really dark. Do you know what I mean when I say like, this movie has such a darkness to it that you almost don't want to watch again? Do you know what I mean by that? Because I feel like I'm not the only one who believes this.
Oh no, I mean, I like dark movies like this. I like to go and see that sort of realism, because you see a lot of these origin stories out there, like Marvel, like especially Marvel. They just have so unrealistic characters that just have these magical superpowers. But with the Joker, you just have it almost feels like it could be real. And he just has such a depressing life throughout. There's nothing really happy going on in his life, and he even admits it. And there's some parts of the movie that it feels like, yeah, I could absolutely believe this. We're still not no spoilers right now.
Yeah, for now, no spoilers.
All right, but I thought it definitely, when I saw it, I kind of wanted to go and see what else happened, because not really that much. I feel like there could have been some more going on with this. I mean, this was real. This kind of takes place, and you see in the trailers, at that time in his life, he looked like he was one in his 30s and 40s, and he was constantly smoking in there. And I found that interesting, because you really don't see that too often, except in Netflix. Even what was that movie? It was Pearl Harbor, and it was supposed to show people in World War II, and no one was smoking in that, but they were all drinking. Yeah, that's unrealistic. I mean, Phil, you could speak to some of that, how the military does that. I'd imagine there'd be quite a few people probably smoking, on in the military, But over in this movie, they actually had him smoking. They had him, kind of have a breakdown. And I thought there's definitely some politics in this movie. You could see it subtly, just in the little things, the woman that he fancied, and the the whole thing with the gun. I kind of feel that was a little bit interesting, but overall,
yeah, we're gonna talk about that for sure.
Compared to the other movies I've seen, it's definitely, and then the whole mental health aspect too. But it wasn't that bad. It wasn't nearly as bad as Captain Marvel or anything like that. It was definitely and then there's some allusions to other movies too. Have you ever seen the movie The French Connection?
Yeah.
If you remember that whole subway thing in there, I could definitely see it, because I saw that movie not too long ago, at the one part, which we'll discuss later. There's definitely some allusions to other things, but I just thought it was pretty realistic. It's not some some guy gets bit by a spider or falls into a vat of nuclear waste.
Yeah,
it's just a kind a crazy, just an insane man. And something that feels like it could be realistic in some ways. In some ways, it was just completely insane, and there's some political things there. And then the enemy, the whole antagonist, or not the antagonist, because you could argue the main character is the antagonist in this, or an anti-hero. But the whole thing with the sort of Antifa movement in there.
Yeah,
I feel that's actually kind of realistic how that happened, because I feel like that's pretty much how half these movements start. It's something completely unrelated happens, and now there's a whole group of people kind of following this ideology, and I feel like they're the people that believe in that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the similarities between movies, because I bet Phil's seen this movie. I haven't. Have you seen Taxi Driver, Phil?
I have not. I have actually not.
Wow. Okay.
This
See, here's
me.
Yeah.
This makes me want to go see it.
Here's the thing I've heard from people that have seen Taxi Driver, say that this movie is like Taxi Driver light. Mm-hmm. It sounds like this movie takes a lot of influence from that film, for better or worse. And I think that's where I see some of the more negative reviews of this movie, is because of that. But I definitely, I haven't seen Taxi Driver. I can tell that there's some similarities to it. And when you mentioned the Antifa mob at the end, which we'll get to in the spoilers a bit more, that's one thing that I'm a little this movie confused me on, was what is the political undertone to this? Because there clearly is one, but what is it?
I felt like I don't. Well, it's hard for me to not explain it without spoiling it too much.
All right, we'll go into spoilers then.
Okay. All right.
Spoiler alert.
So, with the political thing, so I'll just try to broaden the explanation a bit. What I saw and why I saw that was really good about the Joker was it really portrayed this guy who is like hanging on by a thread, basically. Like you could tell he has a job. He's hanging on to that, but it's not going very well. And then he's getting his butt kicked. He's trying to get his he's trying to keep his medication and his counseling, but the services are getting cut, and you could slowly see all of his stuff is getting slowly sliced away, and the one I think the one thing that kind of really set him off was his mother, the only person who he had a connection with, the only human connection that he really had was with his mother. And then when the only person in his life actually lied to him, something snapped, right? It just snapped. There's nothing, nothing matters anymore. I don't care. And then that's when,
pillow to
that's
the
when
face.
we start. Yeah.
See, this is why this reminded me. I remember when Alex came out with this movie, he made an interesting comment to me. I think this kind of stuck with me. This is that this movie does feel a bit. It's hard. It's weird. Gonna be weird saying this, but it feels almost too real. As somebody that knows somebody that's my brother's autistic. For many people that listen to the show know, he does a lot of the same stuff my brother does. His way he shook his legs at random times, in a weird way. My brother does that. The way he uncontrollably laughs, my brother will do that, as you saw yesterday. And seeing, maybe that's why I have somewhat weird feelings about this movie, because it's almost freaky just how real it felt. It's one of those movies that, because Alex was saying, these Marvel movies don't feel real at all. I'm sorry, when you see these Thor coming down, flying to Earth with a spinning hammer, that stuff ain't happening. That's not real, and he's not relatable. Some God is not relatable, but when you see Joker as, or I don't even like calling this a Joker movie. It's more just an Arthur Fleck movie. This is more about the guy that becomes Joker than actually Joker. It doesn't start Jokering till literally, I would say, the last 30 minutes. There's
definitely little pieces that seem relatable to really everybody.
Yeah.
We've all felt lonely sometimes, right? We've all felt sometimes we were hanging on by a thread. There's so much going on, and sometimes we can't handle some of the stuff that's going on, and it kind of consumes us for a little bit. And I liked how it there was a little something for everybody. It played in the reasons that the Joker became the Joker are complex. It's complex, and they really played into it. You have the political thing, with cutting the programs. He wasn't able to talk to his counselor, wasn't able to get his medication, and so that played a role. And then there's something there's something with his job, right? He felt unsafe, so then he had to get a gun, so he had to bring it to work, and then so...
Here's the thing, why do those... Okay, I get... This is where the movie sometimes took me out of it, and this could be because this is set more in the 70s, but his coworkers know he has mental problems. And when they give him the gun, he literally says to them, I can't have this, and they still give it to him. Maybe it's because of the world we live in now, but... Wouldn't they know that's a dumb idea?
All right, so first off, Gotham City, that's New York.
Pretty
you can
much.
call it Gotham. It is New York in the 70s or 80s. And when you go and take a look at that, like even back in like the early 1900s, they had like pretty strict gun control in New York City. Like even back then, to get a pistol was you had to go through a bunch of hoops. You would not be just giving this guy a gun. And even back then, they'd still be able to go and trace that stuff back to the one guy. So why would he even give it to him? Like that's just unrealistic to me. It feels like it's sort of part of this like agenda going on. And then second, like look at that whole thing where the Wall Street guys just like started beating up this dude. Do you really think like that was unrealistic? Because why? Like I know that's another political angle. Obviously, it's like the rich just want to go and beat up people. No, that wouldn't happen. You would not see like I could see frat boys or something more likely to do something like that. Like no, I'm not going to try like throwing shade at the frat boys, but that's more likely. You get these people who are still going to college who don't really give a crap versus people who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like the shoes they're wearing is probably worth more than like the average person's salary in a year. So why'd they go and like use it to go and kick some guy in the face?
Yeah, well, that's where I'm trying to figure out. Is this movie trying to say screw the rich or that the rich are terrible? Is it trying to have a lefty message with that?
Well, I think there's a little slice. I think there's a little slice of that. I think it's part of it. Like there's a little piece of that, like a very rich versus poor kind of thing, where where you had the Waynes running for office, and there's definitely like a disconnect between the rich and entitled and everybody else, pretty much.
But is it also trying to say though? So this is what I'm saying. This movie's a little confusing. But is it also trying to say, the Joker is a bad guy. These Antifa clowns are bad guys, but the audience, I guess you could say, are creating these monsters. Social media, the rich, the whoever, you guys are creating these monsters. Is that what it's trying to say?
Well, I think that goes into the mirror. Like you're showing it like it's the mirror of the viewer, right? It's a mirror to the viewer. And I noticed that like the media really did not like the Joker very much.
Yes.
Because it really does point out, like the media tends to not like anything that goes against them, right? Because as you really like, you look into the, like you also look into the part of the movie where the talk show host, makes fun of him, and then he goes in there and.
Well, here's the other thing: why did they invite him on the show? Because I could understand, making fun of him on the talk show, but they bring him on, and then he comes on in a clown outfit, and he's acting a bit weird.
because the character he was popular, meaning they didn't care. They wanted to give the message. That this show didn't care that this guy had problems, and obviously had problems or whatever. This guy sold, and we wanted to keep that going regardless of what it did to this individual. So
I almost see like him inviting the guy on kind of like what a Tosh.0 would do, or like a Howard Stern where he invites the really crazy people on. Like that seems actually pretty realistic. But back to what you were mentioning earlier about the mirror, I feel like this kind of showed like the worst of both worlds, and like it was kind of nihilistic in that. It's like, both sides, they do terrible things. But on the other hand, it also shows like, the Joker's supposed to be a villain, and he is basically the Antifa like savior over there. So it kind of shows that, where it's like, and I think that's why the media hates it, because it didn't really put Antifa in a good light. They basically just started following some mentally ill guy, and attaching political reasons to stuff when there's no political reasons. They're seeing something. It's like an ex post facto, where you see it first, and then they just start coming up with reasons why he decided to attack the rich.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of why they don't like it, because the media love Antifa.
Well, that's why I'm confused on. It's like critics, when this movie premiered at, I think, the Venice Film Festival or some film festival, it was like 94% Rotten Tomatoes, and then as time went on, it dropped all the way down to 69. And I'm looking at like, is this either not that great of a movie, or is it that there's something in this movie that's pissing the right people off? And when you see CNN sending out weird like tweets about saying that if they connected to like white men or something, and it was really bizarre.
I think I know why they did it.
Why?
I think there's like few people on the right who are like a right wing celebrities, like a Sargon and like few other Sargon, yeah, Sargon Avocado, and a few other people who actually happen to like the movie and say
but these
some good
reviews
stuff.
came out before that.
Really?
Yeah. So why don't they like it?
Well, here's the reason why. I think that they had some real lefty person go and write some like critical piece on there, probably working for some state-run university. They write this critical piece about like why this movie is like racist or something, and then some guys on 4chan were like, hey, this Joker, this kind of sounds like an imp, so let's go make a meme out of this.
Well, that is what happened before these negative reviews came in, was that there was this sort of 4chan meme being spread around. But then when the movie came out, after the negative reviews, Milo called it a masterpiece. Sargon said he really liked it. I don't understand. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really confused on a lot of things, because look at Robert De Niro's role. We were talking about this last night. Robert De Niro is a far lefty, hates Trump, and yet his character in the movie is literally him playing himself. It's very ironic that he's acting like this pompous, know-it-all, condescending talk show host that's saying, what's funny, what isn't, what's the right opinion, what isn't. And he's the guy in real life that's acting condescending towards Trump. So
projection, maybe reflection.
But why would he sign up for this role?
Because he gets paid money. They don't care.
That's what I think.
Do you think these people really care what roles they do? Like, he gives them enough money, they'll go and lick Dan Schneider's feet or whatever, They'll do.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's Dan. Whoever's the Nickelodeon guy. It's just joking. I don't know if they actually do that, but we've seen some things on YouTube. Take a look at that. CNN. But no, I feel that this just upset the right people, because it did not portray the rich as more evil, and didn't portray the Antifa as being smart. They use the side of the Joker.
Does it? I kind of think it does want to portray the rich as evil. I think it does.
I say it does. It doesn't portray the rich as evil enough.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't portray the left or the Antifa, the violent peasant uprising, as like good. They end up losing in the end. The Joker is a villain. They followed a mentally ill guy into, for all this stuff, even though he had no political goals for it. Like, they want him to be a Robin Hood, but he's really just insane. And also, like, real quick, do you guys find this interesting that the Joker's like in his 30s or 40s, and he's seeing like Batman as he's like 9 years old? Like,
I was going to mention that age gap doesn't make any sense.
Well,
maybe he's just insane.
And what was interesting, I do like, this was one interesting time, because a lot of these Batman movies always have to show Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed, which is fine. This one did it a little differently, where it's happening at the end. You didn't see it coming, where you see Bruce Wayne's parents come out of a theater with him, and one of the clown Antifa people shoots and kills them. I thought that was cleverly slid in there, because Bruce Wayne doesn't need to be in this movie at all till that point. But at that point, that's not only when Batman is arguably born, but it's also when the Joker's born. So I thought that was a good moment. And I think, I'm going to go on record saying this, that scene where Joker finally gets on his makeup, he goes down the elevator and starts dancing on the steps, that's going to be an iconic scene. That's going to be one of those scenes that you're going to see parodied, remembered for a long time. Because I remember it already kind of became kind of a meme, but memes don't always mean the scene's going to be iconic, but that scene, I think, is iconic. The music they played, the Hey song during it, like, that's going to be one of those, that's going to be the scene of the movie. Because that's when he becomes the Joker.
Oh, and with that, when it comes to the whole age gap between Batman and the Joker, I was watching a video on this, and it's more based on a theory, and this could be like either one of the universes, like what if I'm a Batman, in one of the universes where Batman's like really small and then Joker's like much older than him, but this might not be the real Joker. What if it's like
that's something else I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this movie should have ended when Joker's on that clown car or on clown car, on a cop car, and he, takes the blood that's coming out of his mouth, makes a smile, and he's like laying there, and it starts to fade out. That should have been the end of the movie. Would have been perfect. But they tack on this scene at the end that we were both confused when we saw it, I bet. He's in this hospital, and then he like comes out. They imply he kills the girl, which I don't know how that was like with him in the hospital there, which it's impossible. There's no way he could have killed her. Then he has blood on his shoes, which doesn't make any sense. And then he's running around, people are chasing him, and then it ends. And I'm like, are they trying to say that this was all in his head? Are they trying to say none of this happened? Like, I get that's kind of the point, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't entirely, I don't know, I don't really buy it so much.
Well, that's part of the beauty, because they left a whole bunch of scenes there, and like a whole bunch of straight scenes, so you know that some of them are in his head, like, because that's kind of how the rest of the movie was, right? There was a whole bunch of stuff, and some of it was just in his head, and then so you know that out of a lot of those scenes, there's going to be like, which one it leaves you with the question, well, what was real and what was in his head. I think that's good, because I'm not gonna, we might be the only, we both thought this actually, so we might be the only ones here. When he, that the girl he had the hots for, we all followed that until he gets into her house, and he's sitting there, and she's like, "Who are you?" Neither of us realized at that moment that he had never met her before, and none of that actually happened. That whole romantic storyline. I didn't see that the first time. They didn't. So that was confusing. And now that I see that later, I'm like, I think this movie is trying to say, what if this guy became the Joker? Or what if this guy inspires the Joker in the future? I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I think that the one real part of that was when he was in the elevator and the girl did the whole gun. Oh yeah, like the handgun to the head.
Yeah. I think that's real too, because she recognizes that when he does it again. Yeah.
And then so I think that's where he connected with her, because or in his head he connected with her, because he doesn't have very many, like, he doesn't have the human connection element that most people have. So it's like, so of course his mind kind of ran away with that one. And I think the rest of it was probably in his head, but like,
see, some of this, I already realized that some of this can't be in his head, because that clown Antifa uprising, they kill Bruce Wayne's parents, and that actually happened. So that's real. So I guess he's real. I guess, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I do like this movie, but at times it's like, I'm a little confused what they're trying to say at certain things.
But it's a thinker, because
it does make you think. Yes.
It keeps you guessing, like which parts are real and which ones were completely made up.
Yeah. And that's why I will say, the best part about this movie is that right when it's done, you want to think about this movie and talk about it. It makes you think. It makes you re-examine yourself, society, how you treat people. I think that's the best part of this movie, and I think it's a very important movie for this time because of that.
Yeah, that's like the whole moral of the story is don't be a jerk to people, especially mentally ill people. Yeah. Because you don't know how bad they have it. But no, I'm kind of curious, because he still doesn't feel like the Joker. Because like, if you've seen the Joker, unless they're making a new Joker, like the old Joker is like he'd lead like this band of, criminals. This guy does not feel like he could lead anyone. Like, I always feel like they have to make a sequel to this where he becomes from this just, depressed, mentally ill person into this criminal mastermind, because he does not feel like that, at least right now. And I think that would actually be an interesting one too. Honestly, I don't really like superhero movies that much, but this wasn't a superhero movie. Like, at least not obviously it's not a superhero movie, it's a supervillain movie, but like, I feel like there needs to be more of this sort of like, one, realistic, heroes and villains, and two, like, just kind of taking a look at how these people, these villains are, because this is just something. It was a good movie. It's just, it just feels like there needs to be more.
The one thing I noticed about this Joker that's different from past Jokers is it really explores the mental illness aspect, which is interesting and all that. But the one thing, it's a different take on Heath Ledger's Joker, let's say, for example, because Heath Ledger's Joker is very smart. Even though he's very, he's a psychopath, he's crazy, he's insane, he's evil, all these things, he's chaotic, but he's really freaking smart. His plans, his societal commentary, it's all really smart. This Joker, he literally, everything that happens to him kind of happens by accident. It kind of happens by chance. It kind of happens, and he's almost, I don't want to say he's a bumbling idiot, but he kind of bumbles through all these events that lead up to things. Like, he basically shoots and kills those 3 Wall Street guys almost by luck. Like, he's never used a gun before, but he happened to figure it out and kill them. And he also becomes a sort of leader of this clown Antifa because of the media. He didn't really orchestrate any of this. And he gets out of that cop car near the end by one of the clown Antifas. Like, he never coordinated that. It just happened. So that's where, like you were kind of alluding to, Alex, which is that he is different from most Jokers. And it almost makes you question if he is the Joker, because you don't really, you see some Joker aspects in, but not all of them, which is why I think it's just a different take. But the director has even hinted at that this may not be the Joker, but he says he's going to like reveal that soon, so we'll see about that. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it was definitely a good movie, and if you haven't seen it yet, I mean, hopefully you didn't come look at those spoilers, but if you're just tuning in, you haven't seen it yet, I'd take a look.
Well, my thought is like, even if the director says like he's not the real Joker.
Well, he hasn't said that yet.
But I'm saying like what if scenario? But if he says that this isn't the real Joker, and to me, I think this Joker in the movie will be the OG Joker because he's like the start of it all. So he represents.
I don't think so, because I think it's very different from the comic book interpretations, and that's where Ledger's Joker is more like the penultimate. This is the perfect representation of the Joker, whereas this is more of like a different take.
Maybe it could be a different universe, like a Joker, because there are lots of different types of like universes in the DC realm.
Yeah, and they're not even calling this like like a traditional DC film. It's like DC like Black Series or something like that. I forget what they're calling it.
Yeah.
So it's, like I said, it's almost like an experimental project. It's so hard to describe what this movie is. It's almost like a what if scenario. I still think it's a very interesting movie and very, very fascinating and it's powerful. It is very dark and very powerful and very reflective of today's world.
And this guy's just pure insanity too. Like you take all the Jokers from like the other worlds, and like these Jokers, they kind of have like a level of being sane, but like this experimental Joker is just pure insanity.
I definitely. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Sorry about the spoilers if you haven't. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I was wondering if like how a sequel could be made, because there was kind of a little bit of the way it was just constructed was kind of like I
don't think a sequel is possible.
But then there's a lot of questions. And a great way to ensure that there is a sequel is to leave a lot of questions out there.
I don't think they will do a sequel. I really don't think they will. I think the studio will push for it. I don't think Todd Phillips would want to do a sequel.
Yeah. Well, I think they still need to explain how he becomes the Joker, though, because he's still not the Joker at the end of this. He's crazy, but unless they're going to do what you were mentioning earlier, which I don't feel like they're going to do that, because they already spent so much time developing this character.
Well, like I said, I think he is the Joker by the end of it, but he just becomes it. And I think this movie was, I'm not going to lie, I could be wrong, because I know this is technically the end of his character arc, but I think they were a little scared to have him Joker too much, Because you really don't, I noticed through this movie, I never started comparing him to past Jokers, because he's not the Joker in this movie literally till like the last 15 minutes. And when he is the Joker, he's not doing much, and that's what I'm saying. I don't. It's weird because it is called Joker, and yeah, it does have the Batman elements and does come to him being the Joker at the end, but he doesn't do a lot of Jokering, which is fine. but it's almost like they kind of were afraid. They felt almost a little bit afraid, and I could be wrong because this movie almost felt like it was a little cut short. I could be wrong on this, but that's just my feelings.
Well, yeah, he doesn't like. He's not like, I don't know how he'd even fight Batman. This guy just feels like he's insane. He does not feel like he is a Joker. It just feels like a movie about an insane person. Like,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Like, he needs to have development to the point where he can command other people. And maybe they're going to do that. I know they're making a new Suicide Squad movie. I don't know if it's going to be the same Joker in there. Or is it going to be the other Suicide Squad Joker? We're going to have two Jokers.
Come on, Jared Leto's Joker was a masterpiece.
Oh, no.
I like Jared Leto. He's a talented actor, but his Joker was terrible.
It was disappointing because I liked Jared Leto as an actor. But that Joker was terrible.
Well, because they tried to make him in this like modern day gangsta crime boss, and it was stupid, and it was just terrible, and he didn't have any screen time, and it was shoehorned in this movie. Oh God.
Oh, you're talking about Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, they're making a new one. Is that going to be the new Joker or the old Joker?
I think it's going to be the old one.
Well, how's that going to work if you're going to have two different Jokers at the same time? That just...
Well, that's what I'm saying, that this film, it's not a traditional DC film. They call it something like DC Black Series or something. I forget what the name of it, but it's basically almost like a side project, or like, what if this happened in our universe, or what if we experiment with this? It's not really the definitive DC Joker. Like, there's the definitive Thanos. There's only one Thanos. In DC, like, this is kind of just like a side project or a spin-off. It's not the Joker. Could become that, but I just don't think that's what they're going for here. And it's also R-rated, and if they brought him into Suicide Squad, well, they're gonna have to move that rating down and change things a bit, so it's not gonna be the same character.
Well, I almost feel like they have to, like, they developed this character too much just to be a one-off, to me at least. I think they're gonna reboot The Dark Knight or whatever.
Oh boy, if they do that, I'm gonna be pissed.
Well, they're gonna have to reboot it. They're not just gonna make the Joker and then just not have any new. They need to remake it. Like, they can't just go and waste this like perfectly good origin story on nothing.
Well, they might just make another Joker.
That would be such a waste if they do that. Like,
the money would be too good though, because I mean, look at the Joker now, like. It's a success.
Yes.
With only what, a $70 million budget, it's already grossed over $500 million.
Yeah.
In the box office, like, this thing is a wild success.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was the most successful. October release ever, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I think the studio wants a sequel. The studio wants to use this Joker and other things. I think the studio wants all these things, but I don't think Todd Phillips wants it at all. Now, does he have control over this? No. But he has some control. So I don't know where it's going to go. But last thing I'll say is definitely go see it while you can. It's definitely going to be a film that's going to be remembered. It's definitely, like I said, powerful, reflective, but extremely dark film. Like, I walked out and I said to her, like, this is one of the darkest films I've seen. And I know it's a lot of people didn't even say that, but a lot of people did. And I think it's because if you can relate to this on a certain level, the darkness feels a bit more. It's so hard to describe. I don't expect anyone to understand what I'm saying, but it's brutally dark. And I have to see it for a second viewing to give a better opinion, because I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I came out and I didn't know if I liked it. I mean, now I like it a lot more. The more I talked about it, I liked it, but it's kind of just like, boy, that was rough.
Buy it before, or watch it before it gets banned.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
So, last thing we're going to talk about today, unless we get a little extra time here. El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie, has dropped. It came out on Netflix a few days ago. We watched half of it till we got kicked out of our personal Penn State theater here and finished the other half literally a few hours ago. And what are your guys' first impressions, hot takes, spoiler free?
Okay, so it just kind of felt useless. It was long. Nothing really happened. I don't know. It just felt like it could have, the story was already pretty wrapped up. And I liked how in the original, Breaking Bad, you kind of you could draw your own conclusions. I mean, if you want to go and see more, at least for the lore, you could go and look at Better Call Saul, and I thought that was pretty good. But this just felt like, a quintessential direct-to-Netflix movie. It was just a big letdown, but, I didn't pay any money, so I can't really complain.
I thought personally, the first half I thought was so stretched out, where he's sort of, for a spoiler-free way of putting this, getting things going. And then once they got to that apartment, that's when it picked up and it got interesting. And the second half was all right. It was better than the first half. The one thing I will say is the cinematography in this was beautiful. Absolutely beautifully filmed. And Breaking Bad was already a well-shot series. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was beautiful. I think in the 5th season, and I think the 4th season too, I haven't seen the show in a while, that's when it started getting more beautiful. But I never liked the shaky cam in Breaking Bad. I know it sounds nitpicky, but I hate shaky cam. And this has no shaky cam. Better Call Saul has no shaky cam. Breaking Bad had shaky cam. I think near the end is when they started getting rid of it a lot more. But that was one of my biggest gripes with Breaking Bad. Honestly, was a shaky cam and some of the ridiculous things that happened in that show. But other than that, I'm a fan of Breaking Bad. I really like Breaking Bad. Great characters, great story, very well done. I kind of had the same impressions that Alex has, which is I did like this. It was all right. It wasn't great. I wouldn't say I love this at all. I don't think it was needed. I honestly was a little confused on certain parts because it relies on a lot of fan servicey Easter eggs, a lot of callbacks. The one thing I will say is that, and I don't want to spoil this, but there are characters that do quote unquote come back, and I thought some of them worked and some of them didn't. Like it's, I mean, I don't think I don't think Vince Gilligan's a bad filmmaker. Oh, I think he's fantastic, but I don't know why he was saying like, oh, I need to make this. I don't think you did. I think we all kind of knew what would happen to Jesse. And the way it ends, I didn't specifically think that's how his story would go from the end of Breaking Bad, but I kind of got the impression of what he'd be like. What did you think of this, Phil?
It wasn't like great, but it wasn't terrible either.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of like, there was a couple of things that bothered me though. One,
are these spoilers?
The age of these other characters definitely showed. Like,
yeah, and I know what you mean.
No, they're trying to play this thing like it just happened, and oh wow, these characters are like 10 years older. What the hell?
Yeah.
And then like, Breaking Bad left with a lot of things that you could kind of think up as far as your own conclusions go.
Yeah. Which I think is good.
I didn't like how they confirmed that Walter White was dead. Like I part of me was still kind of thinking, oh well, maybe he could still be alive.
I never thought that. I'm not gonna lie.
No. There are some that thought.
Oh yeah.
That he was still alive, and Bryan Cranston in an interview said, "Well, nothing's for certain." Like he kind of left it hanging too. But yeah, this one confirmed that. Yeah, he
and to piggyback off of that, that's honestly what was one of my biggest complaints of the Breaking Bad finale, which I think is a great finale. I think people kind of praise it a bit too much. I don't think it was one of the best finales ever. I was thinking it's definitely like a how do I phrase it? It's one of the better finales, but I don't think it's one of the absolute best. And the reason I say it is because it's very neat and tidy. Like the only real loose ends there, which I think they were good to have, was Jesse, screaming in the car at the end, and he kind of goes off and escapes, which I think is a good loose end to have. But everything else plays out nicely and cleanly, which was satisfying yet a little, I guess to be more, it doesn't feel as realistic as it could be. It's hard to describe, but it's a little tidy for a finale. Like a finale you want to kind of, I think, okay, I'm going to get hate for this. I know people hated that Game of Thrones finale, But what I liked about the Game of Thrones finale is there were some things that were closed up, some things were left open. And that's how I think a good finale goes, is that you leave some things to your imagination, some things with possibilities, some things have proper closure. And I think Breaking Bad had more of that closure than that possibility. And where it did have possibility was good, but then this movie kind of goes and closes all those possibilities.
Well, I think that like the hardest thing to go and do when you're writing a series is or like anything, like a book, a movie, like a video game, like is writing the ending, because the ending, you know, it's so easy to do it wrong, and so many times has it been done wrong. But you only really remember the ones that did it bad. You know, the good ones, they're hard to remember, and you know, Breaking Bad was one of the good ones. You know, some people didn't like it, and you know, the one, you know, I'm going to disagree with you, Phil, on this. I think that the one good thing about this is it dispelled that whole, you know, Walter's still alive thing, because there was no way he survived that. The dude had cancer, and the dude got shot. Like, you know, that was perfect climactic ending. But this one, it just felt like fan service, like the entire movie. It did not need to exist. Like, the only thing it really did was close up the Walter White myth, and everything else, it was just a waste of time. Like, the whole searching, you know, bits of it, you know, it just took forever. Like, I don't know, it just went on way too long, and it wasn't very
It didn't feel like there was
enough.
a point to it.
It was just, I guess, for people who can't imagine what happens to go and basically tell them, listen, what happened to Jesse, you know, and his friends.
What'd you think, T?
Honestly, yeah, I do agree. The first part of it was just get to the point already. The last part, the ending, really stood out to me when they showed.
No spoilers yet.
Oh.
You can hint at it though. We'll get into spoilers soon.
The minute. No, wait, no. Just like a minute before the show ended, there's this one character that appeared.
Yeah.
Where like stood out to me because it either like showed like what if you know this happened. Kind of thing. So, and then not only that, but just throughout the entire the entire movie, how Jesse made that one specific decision, which was different from the entire series, really showed that he was you know, growing up, and and I've noticed throughout the movie he was also becoming like a Hank. You know, is that a spoiler?
No, you're saying it was becoming like Walt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Walt. Yeah, he was.
That's not a spoiler.
No,
but
he
I know
was-
what you mean.
Yeah, he literally took on the form of Walt.
So we're gonna go into spoilers now. So spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Yes, you're gonna hear spoilers, and there are plenty in this movie, but actually not as many as you'd expect. So when you do say that it does feel like Walt at the end, I do kind of agree, because there is a particular character that comes in at the end, and I knew he was gonna come in the minute he knocked on the door, and that is Walter White. He does come back for one scene. I thought it was a cool scene. I thought it was funny when Jesse piles it. We both laugh when he piles the food on his plate. He's like, yeah. You know, it is trademark word.
Yeah.
That was funny.
You can see the growth in him, like how he was, like
Yeah, he was
during the
more
scene.
childish.
Yeah, like and then answers like the you know the
Yeah,
word.
the word.
Yeah. And he doesn't really say that word throughout this entire movie.
He doesn't even say it much. Yeah.
Actually, if you notice, he doesn't even
I like it, Walter White. Walter White's like, you're gonna want to get your GED. He's like, I got my diploma, man.
Yeah.
You were on stage when you handed it to me, man.
Yeah, I did really like that
Yeah.
scene. I'm glad that, like, here's the thing with like doing cameos or bringing back the old characters you loved, is they have to have purpose. And I think like Hank at the beginning kind of had a purpose, kind of didn't. And I think Walt had a purpose because it kind of shows Jesse's character growth and also shows how, you know.
What? Well, hold on. What are you saying? Hank doesn't have a purpose? That's
Oh,
completely.
sorry, not
wrong.
Hank. I meant Mike. When he's at the beginning of the film and he's standing there with Jesse and they're like looking across the water.
Oh yeah, that's useless.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't know why what the point of that was. I mean, maybe I have to rewatch some of these bits.
Maybe
but
just to show that, hey, I've grown up, you know.
I don't know. Like, I just don't.
Oh, note one thing. Notice how in the movie, Jesse does not use any drugs.
That's true.
He doesn't even.
He even turned it down.
Yeah,
from his
exactly.
friends.
Like someone offered him like a joint, and then he just quickly turned away from it. But usually in the series, he'd
he'd go back to it.
he'd do everything.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
what.
he was kind of caged for a while, so he probably is like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, that's the thing. This was trying to show the trauma that had on him, the effects of that trauma, being caged up by the Fasci boys. And see, the thing is, you kind of already saw that in the 5th season. I mean, let's dive deeper into it, but do we really need to know that, like, anymore? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess like it kind of it's just fan service. They just want to go and show you, hey, this is what happened when he was abducted. This is what happened. I guess how he got out. Like it was just explaining things for people who can't put 2 and 2 together. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think also the movie's called El Camino. Okay, why was it named after the car that we don't even see in most of this movie? It's not even with him at the end.
It's an edgy name. It's a cool sounding name. It's like, oh, El Camino.
I think of Gran Torino when I hear it.
Oh, I love that movie. See,
It's a great movie.
That was an awesome movie, but this was just, you could tell it's a direct-to-Netflix special. It just felt like this would not, like if I paid money to go to a theater to see this, I would be upset.
That's true. I think I'm getting a different opinion because it's Netflix. If this was like a paid, I saw it at the movies, I'd be like, what did I pay for? Because it doesn't, I noticed instantly, like the two things I noticed instantly when this movie started was that the cinematography was upgraded tremendously. Even though they're using the same crew from Better Call Saul, it's way more cinematic. Oh, wait, what can we say last word about El Camino?
Don't watch it.
Yeah. If you want to see it, good. But if not, see you guys later. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.